Good evening. By the authority vested in me as State Regent of the California State Society of the National Society Daughters of the American Revolution, I call to order the 113th Annual California State Conference. The Assembly will please stand for the opening ritual and remain standing through the national anthem. The color guard will advance the colors.
Color guard, halt, to the right, face. Color guard, present, arm. Carry, arm.
State Chaplain Christine McMahon will offer the scripture and invocation.
With closest custody, guard your heart, for in it are the sources of life. Put away from you dishonest talk, deceitful speech, put far from you. Let your eyes look straight ahead and your glance be directly forward. Survey the path for your feet and let all your ways be sure. Turn neither to right nor left. Keep your foot far from evil. I invite you to pray in your faith and tradition as I pray in mine. May we pray together. We thank thee, Heavenly Father, for our patriotic and spiritual heritage. May we, in all humanity, show our appreciation for the beauty and majesty of our land from sea to shining sea, in continually renewing our gratitude for thy unfailing love and faithfulness. May we, O Lord, cherish the freedom we enjoy and sing praises to thee for thy many blessings to us. Long may our land be bright with freedom's holy light. Protect us by thy might, great God, our King. Amen.
The Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America will be led by Honorary State Regent, past Treasurer General Carol Oakley Jackson. The American's Creed will be led by Vice President General Adele Lancaster. The singing of the first stanza of the national anthem will be led by Kelly Smotherman, a Gold Trail daughter and seventh descendant of Francis Scott Key.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please join me. I believe in the United States of America as a government of the people, by the people, for the people, whose just powers are derived from the consent of the governed. A democracy and a republic, a sovereign nation of many sovereign states, a perfect union, one and inseparable, established upon those principles of freedom, equality, justice, and humanity for which American patriots sacrificed their lives and fortunes. I therefore believe it is my duty to my country to love it, to support its Constitution, to obey its laws, to respect its flag, and to defend it against all enemies.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
The assembly may be seated. I would like to take a moment to thank all of the participants in our opening ritual. We are honored that the color guard of the Sacramento chapter, Sons of the American Revolution, virtually presented the colors for our opening night. The Sons of the American Revolution is a historical, educational, and patriotic nonprofit 501c3 organization whose members are direct descendants of those patriots that achieved the independence of the American people. SAR seeks to maintain and extend the institutions of American freedom, an appreciation of true patriotism, a respect for our national symbols, the value of American citizenship, and the unifying force of E pluribus unum that is created from the people of many nations, one nation and one people. Again, we appreciate your contribution to the evening's opening ceremony. A certificate of appreciation and honorarium will be sent to the chapter president. Thank you. And again, appreciation is extended to those daughters participating in the opening ritual. Welcome to the 113th Annual California State Conference. Tonight, and for the next 4 days, we will make history as we bring you the first virtual California State Conference from our beloved headquarters in Glendora. This has been an unprecedented year. As we left State Conference in March of last year, no one could have expected that 1 year later, we would not be gathering as we had for 112 years. None knew that we would be stretched to learn all of the technology we would learn, and that we would need to continue the work of our society and to keep our members engaged. Daughters are incredibly resilient, and learn we did, engage we did, and serve we did. And yet, while all are truly missing the ceremony and the joy of an in-person conference, this virtual platform not only provides the ability to have our state conference, it offers for many a first opportunity to attend. It proves this state regent's motto, we can and we will. Congratulations, ladies. We can and we have. Tonight and over the next 4 days, the California State Society will welcome and share our conference with daughters from coast to coast. We especially welcome author and two-time Pulitzer Prize winner, Alan Taylor, our award winners and student essayists joining us with their parents. We look forward to recognizing and celebrating your accomplishments. We're so pleased that you're with us this evening. The theme of this administration is, with full hearts, we can and we will rise and shine in service to God, home, and country. Our symbol is the heart, representing the blue center, the blue center representing our love of all things DAR. The sparkling fronds are outreach and service, and the gold heart framing it all, representing our enduring bonds of friendship and love for each other. Our President General's symbol, a sunburst, reminds us to energize our members to rise up in meaningful service to America and to shine by raising awareness of DAR's purpose, relevancy, and vibrancy through robust public outreach. It reminds us to honor the spirit of our revolutionary ancestors, to educate the public about their sacrifices, and to actively promote the rights and responsibilities of U.S. citizenship. Much of the next 4 days, we will focus on our districts, our chapters, and our committees. When many believed that this never-ending pandemic would slow down and perhaps curtail all DAR activities, it is you, our members, who proved the skeptics wrong time and time again, finding ways to serve those most in need. We look forward to recognizing and celebrating those accomplishments. Thank you. The State Society has received official greetings from our President General, Denise Doring Van Buren. Please stand with me as they are presented by Emily Bowling, State Corresponding Secretary. Emily?
Dear California daughters, it is a pleasure and a privilege to send my very best wishes and warmest greetings to the members of the California State Society on the occasion of your 113th State Conference. Congratulations for achieving another year of outstanding accomplishments. When your impressive volunteer work is combined with that of daughters who serve around the world, we together make an astounding difference in local communities on behalf of our society's vital, relevant mission. Thank you for all you do. During our administration, we are encouraging daughters to rise up in service to our nation and to then shine by telling the DAR story through traditional and social media. Let us project a bright light on the value of membership in the DAR, which I believe has never been more important to America's future. Our work on behalf of veterans, active duty service personnel, students, educators, and citizens is critically important, and our historic preservation mission is particularly necessary on the eve of America's 250th anniversary. There are many ways to be involved, and there is something for everyone in the DAR. I ask each member to stay connected to the many exciting developments in our National Society by subscribing to our DAR magazine and following us on social media. Be sure to invite others to research their story and then join us in our important quest to celebrate our American values. Please accept my sincere appreciation for your generous financial support of our National Society and my Rise and Shine President General's project, DAR Constitution Hall, the Next Act. While it is the most ambitious single administration project ever undertaken, I have every confidence that you will join me in raising the money necessary to complete the final stage of restoration for our National Historic Landmark. Ladies, Let us rise and shine for America and for DAR. With sincere admiration, Denise Doring Van Buren, President General.
Thank you, Emily. Thank you, Emily. We are honored to welcome the Honorable Mayor Alawas, Mayor of the City of Glendora. Mayor Alawas, would you please bring greetings?
Thank you very much. Daughters, it's truly an honor and a privilege to be here this evening to help kick off your 113th state conference. It's truly an honor that you're here in our city. I have two gifts today. One is a proclamation from the city, and one is a personal gift from me that I think that you folks will really enjoy because of your heritage of protecting heritage and education and things of that nature. So let me start off with the proclamation. It's a bit long, but it's a proclamation. Whereas the National Society Daughters of the American Revolution was founded on October 11th, 1890 by a group of pioneering women in the nation's capital and officially incorporated in 1896 by an act of Congress. Whereas since the founding, DAR has admitted more than 950,000 members and 3,000 chapters in all 50 states, Washington, D.C., and internationally. Whereas DAR exists to carry out the objective of historic preservation, education, and patriotism. Whereas the Serrano chapter, Daughters of the American Revolution, was organized in 1971 and is located in Glendora, California. Thank you for that. Whereas the California State Secretary of the Daughters of the American Revolution will hold, or is holding, its 113th state conference virtually from its Serrano chapter headquartered in Glendora, California on March 4th through the 7th, 2021. Now, therefore, we, the Glendora City Council, hereby express our appreciation for the strong commitment and many hours of volunteer work performed annually by members of the California State Society of Daughters of the American Revolution to preserve cultural heritage, contributing to student scholarship and curricula, and participating in programs in support of American service personnel. In witness hereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the City of Glendora to be affixed this day, 4th day of March 2021. So I'll give you this. So I have one other one that I think is very special and dear to me. When you become mayor, you get to design your own tile. It's a mayor's tile. Not many people know about this tile because there are very few that are made. I broke the mold this year and I made actually 75. So this is one of 75. They're made of pewter. My goal, and I started designing this well before I was mayor because I'm kind of one of those kind of people that wants to be a little proactive, that you want to preserve your heritage, your history, and pass it on to others. This is what your main goal is. My goal is very similar because we have such a special town that we have, special heritage. That I would like to present to you this pewter tile, one of 75. Now, around the outside is Mr. Hackney's artwork that you'll see around town. If I would have given you a certification of recognition, it would have been on a form or a form letter that would have had this around it. This also has our historic lights, which I'm still working on trying to get re-energized. That will take some time. Our 100-year seal, which I had to have special permission from my own council to be able to use this with some modifications to it. We have the Rubel Castle here, which is in town, which I'm not sure if any one of you have visited. We have our oranges and lemons. We have our little gumdrop trees. We have the bordilla, which is up in the hills here, some special plants. We also have special feathers from some of the birds that you see around here, the peacocks. And there's some other little things back in here. Every year when you become, either mayor and or you run for council, you usually have a tagline. It's something that's near and dear that you want to push out there. Mine was hometown values, because everything that we do, you're part of our hometown values. You're located here, and everything you espouse is part of our city. So we have hometown values, and we have some other little things hidden inside there, which I'm sure you'll get to see. One, it has a little thing on here, which you can rarely see. It says an MA, which actually you can see either my initials or Mayor Alois. A little play there. But I would like to present this to you. And what is also unique about this is on the back side, it has who I'm serving with, my signature, and it has a little saying on here from the Glendora Signal from 1888. And it reads, if I can see this, it says, Glendora's advantages are many. Her disadvantages do not exist. Her future, measured by the past, is full of promise, which is so very appropriate for what we're all going through today. And so it just means so much to me to be able to give this to you and the daughters.
Thank you, Mayor Alois.
You're very welcome.
And thank you too for all of your support
Absolutely.
for the DAR and for our state headquarters.
You're part of the family.
Very much appreciated.
My pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We are honored to have Don Littlefield, California State President, Sons of the American Revolution, with us virtually this evening. Mr. Littlefield, will you please bring greetings?
Good evening, Madam Regent, officers, members, and friends of the Daughters of the American Revolution, California Society. I am Don Littlefield, President of the California Society, Sons of the American Revolution. It is my genuine privilege to bring you greetings from the 1,700 members of the California Society, SAR. While our respective organizations may be separated by gender, we are nonetheless joined by our mutual respect for each other and the admiration for the work we share in keeping our American heritage alive. The coronavirus pandemic has affected our members, our organizations, and our lives for the past year, but we must not let it deter us from our respective missions to promote patriotism, preserve American history, and secure America's future through better education for children. Take your mission and goals to heart and encourage others throughout your organization to do the same. Be confident in meeting the challenges that lie ahead and take pride in being who you are and what we stand for as Americans. May we all do our part in bringing this great nation back to health and prosperity so that we may once again enjoy the personal freedoms we so sorely miss. Thank you, and may God bless the DAR.
Thank you, President Littlefield. It is always a treat to have members of the Children of the American Revolution, the CAR, join us at our special events. And while virtual, this evening is no exception. It is a pleasure to introduce Senior State President Holly Stover, who will introduce the current president of the California State Society, CAR.
It is my pleasure to introduce California State Society, Children of the American Revolution, State President for 2020-2021, Mindy Williams. This lovely 17-year-old is very interested in the ecology and has been accepted at 2 colleges with a focus on biology. Please welcome Mindy.
Hello, I'm Mindy Williams, CAR California State President. I just want to say thank you to all of the members of Daughters of the American Revolution for everything they have done for CAR. You allow us to be more of a successful and influential organization. My California State project as State President this year is called Ride the Wave. The money I have raised from pin sales and donations is going straight to the Ocean Conservancy Organization, where they protect the ocean from the many challenges and problems the world throws at it. I have been encouraging many to clean up their local waterways, and I hope you can all consider doing the same. It is not only helpful to the environment, but it makes you feel good about yourself, and it allows you to get out of the house safely in these restricted times.
Thank you, Mindy. We're happy you could be with us this evening. And thank you again, Mrs. Stover, for being with us. The State Society would also like to take this opportunity to recognize and thank all California daughters serving as senior officers of the CAR. It is indeed a privilege to recognize distinguished California daughters. These women have and continue to serve at all levels of our society in a variety of ways. We are extremely proud as California daughters to have 2 honorary state regents who have served at the highest level of the National Society. I know that they are here with us tonight. It is a joy to present to you Mrs. Dorla Dean Kemper, Honorary President General, 1995 to 1998, and Linda Gist Calvin, Honorary President General, 2007 to 2010. Mrs. Kemper and Mrs. Calvin, we recognize, honor, and celebrate your dedication and continuing service. It is this officer's pleasure to present California Honorary State Regent and Vice President General, Class of 2023, Adele Lancaster. Mrs. Lancaster, thank you for your continued dedicated service at both the national, state, and chapter levels. This officer is pleased to present California Honorary State Regent and Honorary Vice President General for Life, Carol D. Belcher, PRPR. Thank you, Mrs. Belcher, for your dedication and service. We are also pleased to be able to recognize and celebrate our honorary state regents. Nancy Alexander, Honorary State Regent. Leonora Branca, PRP, Honorary State Regent. Karen Kading Gerard, Honorary State Regent, past Corresponding Secretary General. Deborah S. Jameson, Honorary State Regent. Carol Oakley Jackson, Honorary State Regent, past Treasurer General. Beverly Roberson Moncrief, Honorary State Regent. Thank you all for your continued service. As a state regent, it's a privilege to serve as a member of the National Board of Management. One of our responsibilities is to attend the meetings in Washington, D.C., where we get to know and work with state regents from all over the country. We've not had the opportunity to meet in person, but we are making history again this year. This state regent is pleased to be able to welcome 20 of her fellow state regents to our state conference. Please join me in welcoming Tammy Clemens, Alabama State Regent, Gretchen McGee, Arkansas State Regent, Christy Hendry, State Regent of Connecticut, Gloria Lester, Delaware State Regent, Martha Schmidt, Idaho State Regent, Marla Suter, Iowa State Regent, Susan Metzger, Kansas State Regent, Beverly Robbins, Maine State Regent, Maureen Tipton, Maryland State Regent, Paula Rankus, Massachusetts State Regent, Gina LaCroix, Michigan State Regent, Leigh Hayslip Spencer, Montana State Regent, Candace Kane, Nebraska State Regent, Lori Bagwell, Nevada State Regent, Bonnie Matthews, New Jersey State Regent, Teresa Kales, Oklahoma State Regent, Cecile Wimberly, Tennessee State Regent, Catherine Assay, Utah State Regent. Sandy Sidler, North Dakota State Regent. And Robin Dell Fansler, South Dakota State Regent. We thank you, ladies, for virtually traveling to California to attend this state conference as time allows, to help us celebrate the service of fellow daughters, and to share in the learning process as we all navigate this virtual world. The next group of women is presented with sincere admiration, deepest affection, and much appreciation for their dedicated service as members of the Board of Directors of the California State Society. Sharon Moss, State Vice Regent. Christine McMahon, State Chaplain. Wendy Malone, State Recording Secretary. Emily Bowling, State Corresponding Secretary. Dawn Bird Berezovoy, State Organizing Secretary. Christina Ramos, State Treasurer. Robin Hurwitz, State Registrar. Sherry Stein, State Historian. Debbie Foley King, State Librarian. And Katrina Gonzalez, appointed State Parliamentarian. Thank you, ladies, for your tireless energy, your spirit, and your enthusiasm. The work of our society is accomplished through a committee structure. The President General makes appointments for the national level, and we are honored to have a number of California daughters invited to share their skills and passions in this service. The Veterans Affairs Voluntary Service, or VAVS, is a federal advisory committee chartered by the United States Congress, made up of volunteers from various service organizations. The DAR is the only non-military affiliated organization on the National VAVS Advisory Committee. The President General appoints representatives and deputies to serve California's VA medical centers. Our district directors lead 15 California districts and work directly with our 116 California chapters. The state regent appoints members to chair or serve as vice or co-chairs of the approximately 75 committees that do the work of our state society. In this virtual format, we cannot have them all stand to be recognized, but over the next 4 days, you will see and hear from them as they share the accomplishments of the last year. Tonight, we recognize them by offering our sincere gratitude for their tireless dedication and service during a particularly trying year. The California State Society is honored to be joined by women who are leaders of other heritage societies. Their names, titles, and societies are printed in the official program. We welcome you. The planning and organization necessary to make a normal state conference run smoothly is a monumental task. Our sincere gratitude is extended to the state conference chairman and her conference committee for the organization of this virtual conference. It is my pleasure to present State Conference Chairman Kathy Russo, who will in turn recognize those working on conference. Kathy?
Thank you, Madam State Regent. Your conference committee names have been printed and are currently on the program available online. We have been working very hard to make this a memorable conference. Madam State Regent, it's been an honor to serve.
Thank you, Kathy. This officer is pleased know how much the State Society, and in particular, this officer, appreciate your work and the committee's efforts to make this conference a successful event. This officer is pleased to introduce personal pages who have helped in the preparation of conference and over the course of the past year. Lisa Rose and Nicole Bradshaw. Thank you for all you have done behind the scenes to support this state regent and our society. At this time, this officer is pleased to call State Historian Sherry Stein to introduce our keynote speaker for this evening.
Madam State Regent, fellow daughters, and distinguished guests, I have the distinct pleasure to introduce one of the foremost historians of our time, Dr. Alan Taylor. His not one, but 2 Pulitzer Prizes for history and his Bancroft Prize, along with numerous other accolades, confirm his status. His scholarship and his work have been profound, and his attention to educating the American public about the country's history has been steadfast. Dr. Taylor is the Thomas Jefferson Memorial Foundation Professor of History at the University of Virginia. I introduce you to the consummate historian, Dr. Alan Taylor.
Thank you very much. I want to thank Sherry Stein and Emily Brown for helping to arrange my talk to you. And I want to thank all of you for attending. Wish you the best of luck in your meetings. I'm a historian of the American Revolution, and I wrote a book called American Revolutions. And one of the things that struck me is just how messy the end of the revolution was. And I don't mean the war, but I mean the 1780s, the period right after the war. Here is a painting which shows the American negotiators of the Treaty of Peace with Great Britain, negotiated at Paris in 1783. You see John Jay standing. He has his hand over the shoulder of John Adams. Benjamin Franklin is at the end of his finger. Henry Laurens looms in the background. And then there's William Temple Franklin, who is a grandson of Benjamin Franklin, who is just to the other side of Benjamin Franklin, and he's serving as the secretary. Now, there's something missing in this painting, and those are the British negotiators who did not want to be painted, because this is not a glorious time for the British Empire to negotiate a treaty of peace which recognizes American independence and gives very generous boundaries. Next, please. This shows the boundaries of the new United States. The darker brown represents what the United States was in control of at the end of the war. It also controlled Kentucky and a bit of Tennessee, just to the west of the Appalachian Mountains. But most of that area, indicated in the lighter beige color, is territory that was in the possession of native peoples, but which the British Empire conceded to the United States in this peace treaty. So the United States diplomatically won much more than it had secured militarily. Why would the British make such a favorable treaty for the United States? If I could have the next, please. This map shows the extent of settlement by the 1780s, with the reddish brownish areas indicating the newest settlements. And you can see that Kentucky and Tennessee are kind of oases in the midst of native settlements. So the United States' own citizens are only thinly represented in the area then known as the West, which is everything west of the Appalachian Mountains. So why had the British forsaken their native allies who had helped them in the war in order to give the United States such favorable boundaries? Part of it is that they wanted a very large United States because they hoped that the American population would continue to disperse in order to remain farmers rather than concentrate and become manufacturers in cities. At that time, the British economy is in the vanguard of the Industrial Revolution, and British interests very much wanted to maintain the United States as an export market for those manufacturers. They do not want the United States to become a competitor. Second reason is that the British believed that the United States was embarked on a risky and radical form of government, known as a republic, that had never lasted very long in past history, and which they thought was especially unlikely to endure if the United States was very large, because successful republics had almost always been small. So in other words, the British are hoping the United States will become too big to succeed. If I could have the next, please. Here is an image from an American magazine in the 1780s. And the label is Venerate the Plow. It shows the very high regard that agriculture was held in by Americans. About 95% of Americans lived on farms or plantations. Cities were very small. There's very little manufacturing. And in this image, you see a plow with a farmer. The plow is being pulled by a pair of oxen. It's a largely deforested landscape, which represents an immense amount of work to fell all of those trees. And then there's a rather spectral figure looming behind the shoulder of the farmer, carrying a shock of wheat and has a halo of 13 stars. Well, this represents Columbia, a symbol of the United States. And it indicates that the close association of agriculture and the new nation. And agriculture has to expand because the population is growing more rapidly than any other place on earth. It's doubling every 22 years. And people don't want a lower standard for the next generation. So that means the next generation will need twice as much land as the last one. So the United States literally has to expand to survive as a society, unless people are going to become, by and large, much poorer and have the standard of living that was the norm for people, say, in Britain. Well, they don't want that to happen. So for the United States to thrive, it has to manage this process of Western expansion, which will come at the expense of Native peoples. If I could have the next, please. Here is a painting of Native peoples gathering outside of a British fort, and they're there to celebrate. Native peoples had an alliance with the British Empire formed during the Revolution, and they're very upset when the British promised to give up several of their forts, which fall on the American side of the new boundary, places like Niagara or Detroit. And they put pressure then on the British not to follow through on the peace treaty. And the pressure pays off. The British decide later in 1783 that they're not going to give up the forts. Well, why not? I mean, they're under this pressure from Indians, but why not follow through? Well, in part, the British regret their peace treaty almost as soon as they made it. And they do think that the United States is probably going to collapse. So why not be in a strong position when that happens? They also do want to mollify the Native peoples, who have more power around the Great Lakes than the British Empire does. And so this painting shows a kind of synergy between the British and Native peoples. And in 1783, the Native peoples of the Great Lakes country and the Ohio Valley formed their own union, a confederation, committed to one proposition, which is that no individual Indian nation could sell its lands to the United States. And the Native peoples are divided among many different nations, nations such as the Shawnee and the Delaware and the Ojibwa and the Ottawa and the Miami. And they're all coming together with this commitment that they're not selling any more land to the United States, and indeed they want to roll back American settlements all the way to the Ohio River. And so there's something of a zero-sum game being played in the west of the Appalachians, where the United States must expand for the government to have credibility, to be able to impress its own citizens, to gather the revenue that would come from selling land north and west of the Ohio River. The United States needs to do all those things, but it's being blocked by this Indian Confederation. If I can have the next, please. And here is a newspaper account of one of the defeats that the Confederated Indian peoples inflict on the forces of the United States. It's a Columbian tragedy. There are plenty of coffins on there. So the United States is failing during the 1780s to control the West. And the West is critical to the fate of the United States. If American leaders can't get control of the West, then the United States will collapse. I can have the next, please. Settlers wanted the federal government to defeat Indians and dispossess them, to open the way for settlement. And here we have a settler family engaged in the kind of environmental transformation associated with settlement, chopping down the forest, creating fires, building log cabins, introducing domesticated livestock, the horses in the background. But settlers saw no reason to obey the United States or to buy land from the United States if the United States could not do the one thing the settlers wanted them to do. And while it's very unsafe to settle north and west of the Ohio River, there are people willing to do it, and they are fighting the Indians on their own. All of this is bad news for the United States. If I could have the next, please. Now, one of the people who's upset by this is John Jay, who says, quote, will we replace tawny savages with white savages who will be more of a menace to us? In other words, the settlers aren't seen by American leaders as necessarily people who are going to obey the United States, and indeed that they might form their own country and they might become a military menace to the eastern states. So there's a lot at stake here. Now, the British start to interfere in all of this because they think that they can woo away settler leaders in places like Kentucky and Tennessee and also in Vermont. So this man, the Governor General of Canada, Lord Dorchester, sends secret agents to negotiate such deals. And these frontier leaders are willing to negotiate. Now, they're trying to keep it all very quiet, but they're negotiating because everybody's trying to prepare a contingency plan in the event of the collapse of the United States, which seems ever more likely. Next, please. The Spanish are playing the same game. The Spanish at that time occupied Florida and Louisiana, which is the colony at the mouth of the Mississippi River, and also the entire West Bank. Well, the Spanish also claim a big chunk of what the United States regards as its territory in what is now Alabama and Mississippi and Western Tennessee. And that's that crosshatched area where, just like the British, the Spanish are keeping forts, which technically are within the American boundary. But the United States does not have the military means to contest this. The Spanish are providing arms and ammunition to their native allies, just as the British are doing to the north. And this then restricts American expansion westward. Next, please. This is a governor of Louisiana, and he's holding a map of the Mississippi Valley. So it's showing his pride in the control that his empire has over the mouth of the Mississippi River. For the settlers to thrive in the West, they can't ship their produce over the mountains back to the east. They have to ship it down the rivers via the Ohio River, the Mississippi River to New Orleans. And so the Spanish occupy the choke point. Next, please. And the Spanish exploit that choke point. In the middle of the 1780s, they announce that they will not allow American settlers to the west to ship their produce down there. What are the Spanish doing? Why would they cut off this valuable trade? Well, they're hoping to suffocate these new settlements because they regard them as a threat to their own security. Or, better still, they're hoping to put pressure on those settlers to leave the United States through secession to form their own country and then to associate with Spain. To that end, they provide special licenses to favored frontier leaders, including this man, James Wilkinson, who's not only an American general, he's also a Spanish double agent. He's on their payroll, and he is getting extra money because he has a special license to trade from Kentucky down to New Orleans. Next, please. Now, the other part of Spanish policy is to say, well, you American settlers, you're not going to be able to thrive if you remain part of the United States. So why don't you just move a little further westward and settle in Louisiana? Take an oath of allegiance to Spain, help us defend our colony against other Americans, and then we'll give you plenty of free land. Some 20,000 Americans accepted this invitation, and they included Daniel Boone, who you see here, who settled in what is now Missouri and became a Spanish subject. Next, please. All of this is very troubling to this man, George Washington, who had a great deal of interest in the West. And he said, quote, "The Western settlers stand, as it were, upon a pivot. The touch of a feather would turn them any way," end quote. So they might become part of the British Empire. They might become part of the Spanish Empire. Or they might strike out on their own and create their own country. None of these things were compatible with the ambitions of the United States to be a growing country. So Washington is extremely concerned. And if you were to bet at that time, given the defeat suffered by the United States, you would bet that probably some sort of settler combination with another empire was the most likely scenario rather than a recovery by the United States. I have a filmmaker friend who says that films classically have 3 acts. In Act 1, your protagonist gets into trouble, pushed up a tree. And I've just completed Act 1. Now we're in Act 2. And in Act 2, the protagonist gets into further trouble as people start throwing stones at the protagonist up the tree. So things are looking pretty bad for the United States, and they're about to get worse. Next, please. And here we have John Jay again. And John Jay is one of these people who's very worried. He says that the United States is in danger of splitting, quote, into 3 or 4 independent and discordant republics or confederacies, one inclining to Britain, another to France, and a third to Spain, and perhaps played off against each other by the other 3 empires. But Jay contributes to this scenario. He doesn't mean to do so. But as American Foreign Secretary, the equivalent of Secretary of State, he negotiates with Spain, and he's willing to give up American claims to trade down the Mississippi River in return for improved commercial access by overseas American shippers to Spanish ports. It's a deal that's very appealing to the Northeast, which is where Jay's from. But it's a deal that is appalling to Westerners and to their supporters, who are mostly from the southern states. Could I have next, please? So Southerners, including this man, Patrick Henry, who's the governor of Virginia at that time, threatened to secede from the Union if Jay goes ahead with his negotiations. And Jay is obliged to drop them. But now we see that the danger of secession is not simply the West leaving the East, but it also could be the South leaving the Northeast. So the United States is in great danger of fracturing. Next, please. Alexander Hamilton denounced the states as, quote, little jealous, clashing, tumultuous commonwealths, the wretched nurseries of unceasing discord. Benjamin Franklin agreed. He said, quote, our states are on the point of separation, only to meet hereafter for the purpose of cutting one another's throats. So you see, the United States is not one big happy family during the 1780s. There isn't a strong sense of American identity, of nationalism. Instead, people primarily identify with their own state, and they distrust the people of other states. And the fear is, though, if there isn't some kind of union of the states, that they will end up killing each other. and that foreign powers will intervene, dividing some states to fight against others. That's the nightmare scenario that is motivating the leaders of the different states to try to find some way to strengthen their union so that they can claim the West. So now we get to Act 3. So you were relieved to know in Act 3, we get the protagonist down from the tree. In other words, the United States did not end up collapsing during the 1780s. So what's the answer to why it didn't? Well, there are two parts to the answers. One is that the existing government under the Articles of Confederation, which had a Congress but no president, very limited powers. Couldn't tax people, couldn't regulate commerce. Therefore, didn't have the money to maintain a military. But they did come up with a very creative resolution, which is called the Northwest Ordinance, adopted in 1787. Under this, they committed the United States to allowing a process by which federal territories in the West could evolve into states, join the Union as full equal members. And we take this for granted now. But remember, that wasn't the norm in the world of 1787. The British didn't have a process for their colonies to become part of Parliament, to be treated as equal members of the mother country. It's no other empire that did this. But the United States understands that it's only going to be able to have influence in the West if it wins the consent of the settlers there. And the Northwest Ordinance is a big part of this. And then the second part of the answer is that in 1787, delegates from most of the states gathered in Philadelphia to reconsider the Constitution. In other words, they want to get rid of the Articles of Confederation. They want a much stronger nation, one with a president, one with the power to tax, one with the power to regulate commerce, one with the power to override the states. And to that end, after long and heated discussions, they come up with a new constitution during the summer of 1787 in Philadelphia. If I could have next, please. And this new federal government now has the capacity to actually raise an army, and they defeat the Indians. And in this painting, you see the victorious American commanders negotiating a peace treaty with the native peoples who have been defeated, compelling them to give up most of what is the state of Ohio and to allow the Americans to build forts throughout that territory. Now to conclude, by 1805, the United States looks immensely different than it did at the end of the war just 22 years before. It, in 1803, will add the Louisiana Purchase. There are now new states west of the mountains that have been incorporated into the United States. They include Tennessee, Kentucky, Ohio, Vermont. So the United States has grown to 16 states, and it's organized territories and much of the rest of it. The United States has become the dominant power in the North American continent by 1805. And then just to show you one last image, and this is from 1763, just to remind you how different things were just 42 years earlier. When there were 13 colonies huddled along the Atlantic coast, there were no settlements west of the mountains. There was no United States. These colonies are part of the British Empire, and native peoples are predominant in the interior. But by 1805, the United States, despite some enormous difficulties during the 1780s, has emerged in a much stronger position. But none of this was foreordained. Indeed, much of it seemed unlikely. And it is the resourcefulness of American leaders of that particular generation and their willingness to compromise with one another to create a stronger frame of government that enabled the United States to overcome the great difficulties of the 1780s and the rivalry of powerful empires, the British and the Spanish, and then the very strong resistance of native peoples to American expansion westward in order to emerge as the dominant power in North America by 1805. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Taylor. The California State Society has applied for the DAR History Award Medal for Dr. Taylor. As national headquarters is working at 25%, we are still awaiting notification. We have a certificate plaque and honorarium that we are presenting to him this evening. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sherry and Dr. Taylor, for that wonderful presentation. Before we proceed with the awards ceremonies, I'd like to just have you all stand and just take a moment. This is a historic historic conference this evening. As of now, there are 405 participants on the call, on the Teams Live program. So welcome again to you all. And we've been sitting for a little bit, and I think it's time to just strike a pose. And I propose that we strike the Wonder Woman pose. Shoulders back, arms to your sides, opens up that rib cage, and you're just gonna feel wonderful. Just a little stretch, ladies. The presentation of state awards and the acknowledgement of the outstanding achievements of our award winners are always highlights on opening night. The mission of the DAR is to promote historic preservation, education, and patriotism. Our awardees exemplify the highest achievement in these areas. This might be as they expressed carefully thought through essays, their passion as volunteers, or excellence in a chosen field of work. The winners of the American History Essay Contest will be presented by Caitlin King, State Chairman. Caitlin?
Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us this evening for the presentation of our American History Essay Contest Awards. My name is Caitlin King, and I am the California State Chair for American History, and I'm so glad that you were all able to join us this evening to present our awards in a virtual manner, but nonetheless present them to our 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade winners. They deserve all the recognition that we can give them this year, not only for writing an essay during a pandemic and doing extra work outside of their school, but for winning at their chapter, district, and finally the state level. And we wish them all the best of luck at the national level with our essay contest. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce our 5th grade winner, Malvika Balaji. Malvika, go ahead and introduce who you have with you this evening.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Malvika, and I'm a 5th grade student at Challenger School, Fremont, California. Today, here with me, I have my family, my mom, my dad, and my sister. Thank you for inviting us to join.
It's so wonderful to have all of you, and I am sorry for saying your name incorrectly. Malvika, I will say that correctly from here on out. Well, Malvika, why don't you go ahead and read your essay for all of us?
It was a cloudy day in Boston, March 12, 1770, and Ma, Pa, my brother, and I were visiting Mr. Wilson, my father's friend. We could tell he was eager to see us. Anyone would be after all the events that have occurred this past week. Soon we started talking about the recent riots that people had started to call the Boston Massacre. What are your thoughts about the riots, my good friend? Mr. Wilson asked. Pa seemed hesitant to talk. We could all tell. Well, I suppose Parliament is harsh on us merchants with the Townshend Acts that are trying to control our manufactured goods. Pa was a textile merchant who was greatly affected by these acts. The government limited what merchants sold and imposed many taxes. We all knew Pa was not yet decided which side he was on. I still can't believe the riots that he caused. But again, he is our king and we have to be loyal. What? No, King George's acts are not just, my brother exclaimed. Do you not remember what happened, Pa? The government is going to continue taking our money and giving us no say in the matter. They can't control what we're manufacturing and who we trade with. There was an uncomfortable silence. The king is our king, William. How dare you talk about him in that manner? We should all be loyal to him no matter what, Pa exclaimed. The riots were deadly. British soldiers injured many people. 5 people were killed, I blurted out. I knew I shouldn't have spoken. Everyone was shocked and looked at me. In a way, it felt good to be able to speak my thoughts that were trapped inside my head. Pa looked disturbed at what I said. Surprisingly, I continued. The custom officers were raiding people's homes looking for stolen goods, and that's why people were angry at them. I began. People were just fighting for their rights. The British soldiers started unjust violence. They blindly fired at the mob. It was horrible. Surely you remember, William. My brother was part of the riot in the beginning. He did not answer, but he gave a slight nod. It was hard to ignore the look on his face. We paused for a while. Well, how do you feel about the events that occurred, Eliza? Mr. Wilson asked, addressing Ma. I did not expect Ma to speak, so I was surprised when she did. Well, she began, this was an important event that occurred. Maybe soon we patriots can hope to get our freedom. America deserves to be free. I'm sure one day we will finally get separated from Britain. I'm aware that this might be inappropriate for a simple merchant's wife to say, but one can hope for one's freedom. I couldn't believe what I just heard. Was it really Ma who said those inspiring words? Nobody, not even Pa, had heard or seen this side of Ma. She sounded so firm in her belief. I was proud of her. This time, the silence was not the same. There was a sense of patriotism in the air. It was nice hearing everyone's opinions, Mr. Wilson concluded. We said our final goodbyes and began our way home. As we walked, we took a good look at Boston and thought about our future. Would we have freedom? One day, freedom would arrive to America. We were sure of it. Before, I wasn't sure what would happen. Now I was sure that we, America, and the other patriots would be free. Thank you.
That was such a wonderful job. Congratulations. Let's give her one more DAR cheer. Very good. Thank you. I gotta say, when I was a 5th grader, my essays were nowhere near that level. So you should definitely be proud of yourself. What an amazing job writing that essay. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. I do want to present to you your official certificate that you will be receiving in the mail, but this states Daughters of the American Revolution American History Essay Contest State Winner Malvika Balaji, State, California, 5th grade on this
Obviously, a little bit of technical difficulty. We're working on that and we'll be back with you soon.
I feel extremely lonely today. The seats were in the janitor school.
Of the American Revolution, American History Essay Contest.
America and the other patriots would be free. Thank you.
That was such a wonderful job. Congratulations. Let's give her one more DAR cheer. Very good. Thank you. I gotta say, when I was a fifth grader, my essays were nowhere near that level. So you should definitely be proud of yourself. What an amazing job writing that essay. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. I do want to present to you your official certificate that you will be receiving in the mail, but this states Daughters of the American Revolution, American History Essay Contest, state winner, Malvika Balaji, State, California, 5th grade, on this date, February 24th, 2021, signed by our National Chair for American History, our President General, and our State Regent, Madam Susan Broderick, who's here with us this evening. And we also have a medal that we will be sending you as well. Congratulations again on being our 5th grade state winner. I am extremely proud of you. I hope that you will continue to compete in the future with that style of writing. I don't see why you wouldn't continue to win again and again. Thank you again, Malvika.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have our 6th grade winner, Ethan Chang. Ethan, go ahead and introduce yourself and who's here with you this evening.
Hi everyone, I am Ethan. I am a 6th grader in the janitor school at Palo Alto in San Francisco in the Bay Area. Today, I have my parents here with me. My lovely mom, Regina, and my dad, Jackie, encouraged me so much to follow my passions and dream big. Today, I am honored to present my winning essay on the behalf of the Palo Alto chapter. My essay is about a diary from Patrick Smith, a Bostonian citizen, written on the 25th of March, 1770, 20 days after the incident of the Boston Massacre. I feel extremely lonely today. The seats where Mary and Peter usually sit at the church were empty. Will I ever see them again? Mom said that yesterday the families packed their bags and went to Castle William because our townspeople were really angry at the army after what happened on the 5th of March, a day that changed Boston forever. The newspaper from 2 weeks ago is still sitting on our dining table. Crispus Attucks, Samuel Maverick, Samuel Gray, James Caldwell, and Patrick Carr are names that we will never forget. I still cannot believe our beloved neighbors were killed by the army. I am really tired of the daily discussion of this unfortunate event by Mom and Dad at the dining table every night. Mom thought the whole problem was the Sons of Liberty, which attracted all of the anarchists and troublemakers to our town, leading to the innocent bloodshed of 5 people. The crowd kept provoking and threatening the officers, which forced Captain Preston to order the shots as self-defense. Mom told us that on the 5th of March, the Williams came by our house late that night to warn us to stay home and not go out no matter what. According to the Williams, some drunks were assaulting Private White, who was guarding the custom house on King Street. The mob was throwing snowballs and sticks, yelling and insulting White. White called for reinforcements, and Captain Preston led his regiment of 8 soldiers to protect White. More and more people gathered around the custom house and provoked the soldiers to fire. Unfortunately, it really happened, and 5 of our neighbors were shot and died on that snowy night. During dinner tonight, Mom started a heated debate on whom should be responsible for the bloodshed on the 5th of March. She argued that the main reason the British Army was living in Boston was because our people were threatening the lives of custom commissioners 2 years ago when John Hancock's sloop Liberty was seized. After that, the Sons of Liberty incentivized the mob to damage the custom house and burn the commissioner raceboat at the Boston Common. If our townspeople were just more peaceful, there would not be troops in Boston in the first place, and it would not have led to the bloodshed on the 5th. Dad snorted and exclaimed that the Sons of Liberty were a righteous cause to fight for our rights instead of troublemakers and drunks. Dad also complained that the taxes like the Townshend Acts made everything worse by tenfold, and the custom commissioners were taxing us on our imports, making everything so expensive. We should have the same rights as people living in Britain. However, the King and Parliament passed these taxes without our people's representation. Dad said that the main reason why the King sent the British Army to Boston was to suppress the voice of the Sons of Liberty. Unfortunately, the troops brought violence instead of peace, and they should have stayed at Castle William instead of living in our town. If they had not interfered with us, the massacre would not have happened. Since they arrived in Boston, there were more protests and riots and caused nothing but trouble. Dad said that the soldiers should not have fired at the people in the first place, even when there was a drunken, angry crowd on the 5th of March, which was extremely tragic and barbaric. Mom agreed that under no circumstances should armed soldiers fire at civilians. I can still hear Dad's strong voice echoing in my ears. If we don't speak up and don't have the Sons of Liberty to represent us, the British will impose much more taxes and take away all of our rights. It is because of the heroes of the Sons of Liberty, like Paul Revere and John Hancock, the Stamp Act has been repealed. If the Stamp Act were still imposed, we would be struggling to make a living. Now, the Sons of Liberty were fighting to repeal the Townshend Acts and to remove the British Army's presence from Boston. We should support them by joining all the protests and encouraging people to stand up against the British. We should demand justice and put Captain Thomas Preston and the soldiers who fired on our people to jail. After listening to the conversation between Dad and Mom, I broke my silence and told them my true feelings. Dad and Mom, I feel really sad about the people who died on the 5th of March. There are too much anger, violence, and conflicts in our town. Are we separated into different groups? The Patriots and the Loyalists? The Bostonians and the Redcoats? To me, the people who are the sons and daughters of soldiers are my friends and neighbors. Nevertheless, what is done, but we can plan ahead and learn from our mistakes to achieve peace and freedom. It is very late, and I should go to sleep now. I wish our town is more peaceful, and I hope one day I can play with my friends Peter and Mary again. Thank you. This is the end of my essay. Thank you for listening.
Again, another wonderful essay. One more round of applause for Ethan. That was so good. I love how at such a young age, all of you are able to incorporate all of these elements of history into a narrative and just weave together this beautiful story. So again, good job, all of you. These stories are so wonderful. Ethan, it is my pleasure to present you with your official certificate from the National Society Daughters of the American Revolution as our American History Essay Contest state winner for 6th grade, awarded on this day, the 24th of February, 2021. And we also have a medal for you as well that will be mailed off to you. So again, congratulations. Thank you for reading that wonderful essay for us. Next up, we have our 7th grade winner, Vikram Subramaniam. Vikram, go ahead and tell us who you have with us this evening.
Thank you for having me here. I have my mother and my sister who have their camera on right now, and I have my granddad and my dad whose camera are off. Now I will read my essay now. I have never run as fast in my life as I did yesterday. It was a snowy night, and I was 2 blocks from home on King Street, near the custom house, waiting for Father to come out of the building. Suddenly, I heard raised voices. The wigmaker's apprentice Edward was shouting at a British officer and telling passersby that the officer, Captain Goldfinch, had not paid a bill back to Edward's master. A sentry came up, and after a heated exchange of words, he swiftly knocked Edward down. A small crowd had now gathered and started taunting the sentry. "Bloody lobsterback!" someone from the crowd shouted. Anxiously, I waited for my father and watched the events unfold. As the crowd grew, the sentry retreated towards the custom house, waving his gun. After what seemed like a long time, a tall man, who someone said was Captain Preston, came to the sentry's aid. Meanwhile, the church bell started ringing, attracting more people. Outnumbered by colonists, Captain Preston and 7 other men lined up and moved the mob of colonists back. In response, the crowd started throwing snowballs, sticks, and even chunks of coal at the soldiers. A tall man lunged at the soldiers with a club, grabbed the soldier's bayonet, and rashly knocked him to the ground. By that time, my father's assistant came rushing towards me to take me back home. "Fire!" I heard someone shout, followed by gunshots as I was running away from the scene. My name is Robert, and I live 2 blocks away from the custom house on King Street with my mother and father. Father is a printer for the Boston Gazette, so he is informed about the news even before it comes in the paper. Mother has a knitting group, which is her source of town gossip. Aunt Catherine, who is my father's sister, stays close by to us. She is married to Uncle John, a British soldier she met 2 years ago when the British regiments came to Boston. Including my family, no one is fond of the soldiers, because they were sent to curb the colonists' protests against taxes. After I arrived home, some ladies from Mother's Club also gathered at our house. There was news that several colonists had been shot near the custom house. There were also more skirmishes in other parts of town, a few blocks north and in Dock Square. Father was at the printing press all night and only came back the next morning. He informed us that 5 colonists had been shot, including Crispus Attucks, the club-wielding man I had seen. Governor Hutchinson had rushed to the spot. After midnight, Justices Richard Dania and John Tudor issued the warrant, and Captain Preston and the soldiers were arrested. The justices questioned them for an hour, and at 3 in the morning, Captain Preston and the soldiers were put in jail. Due to the disturbances, Aunt Catherine came over to our house for safety. That evening, the day after the massacre, as we sat around the dinner table, there was still tension in the town. This may be the last straw, Father said. The situation has been escalated due to Parliament levying unfair taxes on everything, from lead, glass, paint, to even paper and tea. We don't have any voice or representation. To suppress all the protests, they sent the 14th and 29th regiments to Boston, Mother added. Nothing against John. He's a great fellow, Catherine, but you have to agree that it feels as if we have more British soldiers than inhabitants in Boston. Aunt Catherine responded swiftly, saying, John informed me that the soldiers acted in self-defense. The crowd was taunting the soldiers and throwing things at them. One man even knocked a soldier down. The soldiers have every right to defend themselves. Captain Preston is a fine man. He would not give such an order in haste. To this, Mother said, it does not justify shooting and killing 5 people. They could have retreated in the custom house instead. A few days ago, the boy Christopher Sider was also shot. They have to be held accountable or we'll keep having these incidents. Father added, I'm already hearing that the Sons of Liberty are planning more protests. This may be the turning point. Looking very worried, Aunt Catherine said, I hope that the soldiers get a fair trial, as even they deserve it. I heard that a lawyer named John Adams has offered to defend the soldiers, she said. Though Father, Mother, and I disagreed with Aunt Catherine's other beliefs about the British, we agreed that every individual deserves a fair trial. I went to my room to sleep, but that conversation made me feel uncertain about the future. How would the trial for Captain Preston and his men turn out? Would the unfair taxes be withdrawn? Would the colonists get justice for the brutal killings of those 5 people in the massacre? While most of these questions would take time to answer, I was certain about one thing. Most of the colonists in Boston were finally united due to this incident, and all were ready to strike back against the oppression from the King and Parliament. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Vikram. That was such a wonderful essay. Again, I enjoyed hearing about all the historical elements mixed with the narrative that you created. Wonderful piece of writing. I look forward to hearing whatever you write for us next year in this competition. Again, let's give a big round of applause to Vikram. Vikram, I am proud to present you with your official certificate from the National Society Daughters of the American Revolution for being our American History Essay Contest state winner for 7th grade, presented to you on this day, the 24th of February, 2021. And as well, we have a medal for you that will be sent off, and I hope that you wear it with pride. Thank you again, Vikram. One more round of applause for him. And last but surely not least, our 8th grade winner, Audrey Lynn. Audrey, go ahead and introduce yourself and who's here with you this evening.
Hello, everyone. My name is Audrey Lynn, and I'm currently homeschooled and in 8th grade. I have with me today my mother, Son, and thank you so much for having us. Thank you so much to the Daughters of the American Revolution for this great honor. I am so grateful and humbled by this award. For my essay, I decided to write a letter from the perspective of Elizabeth Maverick, a real woman from the 18th century at the time of the Boston Massacre. I have always loved history and writing, and I really enjoyed combining the two in this essay. It was a pleasure to research and create this piece, and I hope you enjoy. March 17th, 1770, in the year of our Lord. My dearest cousin Molly, I regret that I must write to thee bearing such depressing news. My youngest brother, Sanford, at the tender age of 17, hath passed away at 7:27 ante meridian on March 6, 1770, Anno Domini, after being shot by a British officer in front of the old State House. A stray bullet ricocheted and hit my dear brother right in front of my face. After he was shot, I ran to him, tears blurring my vision. Life seemed to speed, flashing before my eyes. I doth believe I screamed. Our dear Sam died the next morning. Now only a week later, I still cry myself to sleep. That day I had on my best dress. It still hangs on the line, its white satin now encrusted with the dark red of my brother's blood. The papers calleth this a massacre, as he and 4 others were brutally murdered. Dear Molly, I have no words for the loss I have endured. Samuel's heart was full and lively, and now he is nay more. How lonely I feel without his energy and charisma. The sound of his shouting in the shipyard still ringeth in the back of my head. I can still see him running through the cold streets of Boston, handing out pamphlets, laughing at his high-sided aspirations to become the most wondrous ivory turner in all this new world, and provoking laughs at every moment with his sly jokes. The love for him I feel for him is as everlasting as the evergreen trees standing verdant through winter. The Honorable Mr. Samuel Adams, being one of the notable Sons of Liberty, sympathetic to our cause, had provided for Sam's funeral. Mr. Adams gave me his deepest condolences and thanked Mother profusely for her sacrifice to this direst cause. More than 2,000 countrymen and women joined arms to mourn the loss of Sam's life. Oh, Molly, how I cried so many tears. Silence filled the halls, broken only by my sniffles. A lock of my hair laid with him to rest. How calm he looked. May he be forever blessed as a martyr for this cause against tyranny. The angel lays resting in the arms of our dear Lord. May he look over us. As thee knows, my father is not with us anymore, having passed away when I was only a little girl, and now it is only Mother and I. Last night we sat by the candlelight with our shadows cast upon the wall, talking through the night about this revolution that has united these 13 states in a tempest of fury. As the round moon hung in the night sky, casting its glow over Boston, I expressed my exasperations to her and my desire to continue Samuel's legacy. She responded in that soft voice of hers with a quote from Chaucer, "Time and tide wait for no man." Molly, we must fight. Samuel's horrid death only spurns my deepest hatred and angers of those blasted redcoats. We must honor my brother's legacy. Though we are mere women, we will aid this cause so dear to Samuel, who now can fight no more and looks down on us from heaven. Molly, we can still take action, though not on the battlefield. Here at the hearth, we are still capable of fighting. We will fight not only with our fists or muskets, but with our pens and needles. Believe with me, I mourn the death of dear Samuel, but though his body lays rest at the granary burying ground, his spirit stays with me. At this very moment, I can hear the revolutionist shouts of taxation without representation in the square, the rallying cry of our dear allies. We must go make clamor with them. Samuel hath had his life ended short and has no more time on this earth, but we do, my cousin. I hear the clock ticking, the thread of life, the small granules of sand trickling out of the hourglass. We all have but one lifetime. Freedom is only a fathom away. Can you see it, dearest Mary? The crown must pay for its tyranny, for its countless taxes, and for the murders of my brother and so many others. Though I consider peace more desirable, dear cousin, we have stayed prudent for too long. How many more will fall dead? How many more mothers will cry? And how many more dresses will be stained red with the blood of their brethren before we declare our freedom? Taking to the streets and into the battlefields, we can fight, with our mismatched browns and blues taking on the formidable redcoats. However, we have courage, dear Molly. We have spirit, conviction, and the love for our colony. Our colony that our descendants settled so long ago can become its own. May Providence and God Himself lead us to a better future where we need not fear for our safety or our happiness. I implore you to please write me back. I am longing for a hand to lead me out of my misery. Your most obedient servant, Elizabeth Maverick. Thank you.
Wow, my goodness, what an essay. Goodness me, that I'm an English teacher, and so that essay, top notch, Audrey. That was a wonderful essay. Another round of applause for her, please. Audrey, it is my honor to present to you your official certificate from the National Society Daughters of the American Revolution for the American History Essay Contest as our 8th grade state winner, presented to you this evening, the 24th of February, 2021. And of course, your medal as well, and I hope you wear it proudly.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank all of you. What an honor it has been to hear all of your essays. Thank you, Malvika, Ethan, Vikram, and Audrey. Thank you again for the work that you put in. I know that this process isn't easy. I know that it required extra work outside of the schoolwork that you're already doing in a virtual, very difficult way. I understand that. I'm proud of each and every one of you of the work that you've put in, and I know that everyone here looks forward to hearing your submissions again in the future. Let's give one more round of applause for all 4 of our winners.
Thank you, Caitlin. And congratulations, Malvika, Ethan, Vikram, and Audrey. Wonderful work, wonderful work. Before we move on, I'd just like to share that our little technical difficulty was due to a power outage. Can't believe it's our opening night that the power goes out. The California State Society is pleased to follow the lead of our National Society by recognizing 2 students for the DAR Good Citizens Award, 1 female and 1 male. Presenting the 2 winners of the California State DAR Good Citizens Scholarship Contest is Ashley Brown, State Chairman. Ashley?
The DAR Good Citizens Program and Scholarship Contest is intended to encourage and reward the qualities of good citizenship, dependability, service, leadership, and patriotism. The program is open to all senior class students enrolled in accredited public or private secondary schools. Students are judged based on how the student has exhibited the qualities of a good DAR Good Citizen, as well as a proctored essay limited to 550 words and written within a 2-hour time limit. This year, the essay title is Our American Heritage and Our Responsibility for Preserving It, with the focus question of how do the combined actions of so many good citizens keep our nation moving forward? California is recognizing both a male and female DAR Good Citizen, who I have the pleasure of announcing tonight. Our first DAR Good Citizen is couple Aksha Diria, sponsored by the Point Vicente chapter. Mr. Diria has been an active member and team leader of the Palos Verdes Peninsula Land Conservancy, coordinating volunteer days to establish hundreds of acres of habitat land and maintain miles of trails. Recently, he coordinated with Palos Verdes High School Science National Honor Society and PVPLC to adopt a plot. He led high school students in ridding a plot of land of the invasive plant species and planted native species, upkeeping 3 acres of newly established habitat. He is a volunteer with the local Parks and Recreation Department, as well as a hospice volunteer, assisting the medical professionals providing palliative care to those with in-home care or in hospice homes. Couple is a link leader at school, linking incoming freshmen with upperclassmen, helping the freshmen with orientation, team building exercises to integrate into the high school community, and helping them find school activities they like. He is a water polo coach for ages 10 and under and a player on the high school water polo team. He wants to encourage younger kids to play water polo, a currently underrepresented sport in his community. Couple also serves as the president of Palos Verdes High School's Spanish National Honor Society. Mr. Diria is passionate about both physics and public policy and political science. He looks forward to pursuing one or both of those fields in college. He would love to have a career which combines both fields, like nuclear energy in the future. Madam State Regent, it is my honor to present Couple Aksha Diria. Couple.
Thank you, Mrs. Brown. Madam State Regent, honored daughters and guests, I'm honored to have been selected as one of California's DAR Good Citizens. The values of citizenship do not necessarily come naturally to everyone, including myself. Rather, it's the people that surround me that have instilled these values within me. So I'd like to thank my parents, my family, my teachers, and my community for teaching me the importance of giving back to my community. I'd also like to thank my teachers, Mr. Harley, Senora Rometta, and Mrs. Hoffman for supporting me through my entry into the Good Citizens Contest. Finally, I'd like to thank the daughters of the DAR Point Vicente chapter and the Daughters of the American Revolution as a whole for their generosity in holding this contest. Thank you. And now I will read my essay. A common saying in our country is anyone can achieve the American dream. Indeed, the American dream was alive even in 1776 when Thomas Jefferson wrote that all men deserve the right to the pursuit of happiness. Yet systematic inequality in our country denied many Americans equal opportunity to achieve success in the past, and it still does even today. My parents, immigrants from India, achieved the American dream. My mom is a doctor and my dad is a professor. But stories like theirs and so many other Americans exist only because of the persistent activism and fight for equality throughout our country's history by good citizens. The freedom of expression, so integral in America's soul, has facilitated our nation's progress towards equality for all citizens. The framers of the Constitution enshrined the sacred protection of free speech in the First Amendment because they wanted to prevent the stifling of speech by a tyrant that had prevented progress of the American colonies prior to the Revolutionary War. They knew if citizens could not fight for causes they believed in, the new country would never move forward. And it is those fighters the framers envisioned, those who used their freedom of expression to achieve progress, who have brought about equality since our country's inception. The abolitionist movement, America's first real step towards equality, would not have been possible without the widespread activism of the abolitionists like Frederick Douglass and William Lloyd Garrison. The Civil War and subsequently the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments would not have even come to fruition if these abolitionists did not speak up and fight for what they believed in. Their ideas made possible by the protection of free speech live on in the Constitution. If Elizabeth Cady Stanton and Lucretia Mott had never spoken out by organizing the Seneca Falls Convention that kickstarted the women's suffrage movement, women would still be treated as second-class citizens with limited opportunity for success. They used their freedom of expression to fight for half of all Americans, and their ideas lived on past their deaths in our Constitution as the 19th Amendment. If Martin Luther King and other civil rights leaders had never given speeches and organized protests, the civil rights movement would be non-existent and Jim Crow laws would have continued to suppress the success of Black Americans. Without their fight for equality, Brown versus Board of Education would have never outlawed segregation, and Lyndon B. Johnson may not have passed the Civil Rights Act of 1965, which was a huge leap forward for the U.S. If Dalip Singh Sand, the first Asian American congressman, had not fought for reform to the discriminatory immigration quota system through passionate activism, my parents would have never been able to immigrate to the U.S., and families like mine wouldn't be here today shaping the future of the United States. Without his activism, the people of the United States would not have been able to elect a South Asian vice president. It is the activists who use their freedoms for the greater good who truly make our country a better place for all Americans. What distinguishes good citizens is that they actively use their freedom of expression to fight for equality. And equality is what allows the American dream to be possible for anyone. It is what allows our country to move forward together.
Thank you, couple. Our next DAR Good Citizen is Clara Lucetti, sponsored by Captain John Oldham Chapter. In her 4 years at Nevada Union High School, Ms. Lucetti has been incredibly involved in her campus's Rotary Interact Club, serving not only as a member, but as secretary and president. Each year, they collect warm coats for those in need and adopt families at the holidays. Ms. Lucetti has trained and serves on the Community Emergency Response Team, where she can assist during real-life emergencies at school and in the community. She is also a member of the National Honor Society Club and California Scholastic Federation, serving in both clubs as president. She is proud to volunteer and participate in the local turkey trot to raise awareness and money for depression and suicide prevention. Ms. Lucetti is on Nevada Union's Executive Council, where she leads by example, promotes positivity and school spirit, and encourages other students to get involved, especially in this socially distanced Zoom era we are in now. Clara is an accomplished swimmer, placing as a finalist in the USA Swimming Junior Olympics. As a child, she was inspired by the kindness of medical professionals she encountered. She would like to attend medical school after 4-year college to become a doctor who serves others. It is her wish to return to her community to help another little girl who dreams of a future in medicine too. Madam State Regent, it is my honor to introduce Clara Lucetti. Clara.
Thank you, Ms. Brown. Madam State Regent, honored daughters, and guests. I'm honored that you have selected me as one of California's Daughters of the American Revolution Good Citizens. I would like to thank everyone who has considered me for this award, and I'm sorry that I don't have the opportunity to thank you in person. I would now like to share my essay. Times of hardship and confusion can bring out both the best and worst of individuals. In the divisive state of our nation, it is sometimes difficult to see people working towards a common cause. The COVID-19 pandemic and daily actions of many have created unity through the combined actions of good citizens that helps our country continue to progress towards a greater America. When the coronavirus aggressively spread throughout the United States in March, good citizens worked together to help and serve others locally. Instead of not going to work and locking down, healthcare professionals, grocery store employees, UPS drivers, and many more worked selflessly during this time to serve others. Their actions range from helping keep sick people alive to selling the last roll of toilet paper during a national shortage. Their brave efforts to remain at work and help serve others kept the United States moving forwards when we needed it most. Similar to the efforts made after the September 11 terrorist attacks on the United States, businesses and individuals helped to ensure the safety of citizens. Car manufacturing companies diverted their efforts to producing ventilators when there was a national shortage as opposed to focusing on their own economic interests. The Yankees baseball team used uniform material to make masks and hospital gowns that were dispersed amongst many hospitals. Vodka companies made and donated hand sanitizer instead of alcohol. People made hand-sewn face masks and donated them and painted rocks with positive messages. Individuals were patriotic and generously donated their time, materials, and efforts towards a national cause so that more people could be here with us today. Today, we see many good citizens coming together to develop a vaccine for COVID-19. Researchers have worked tirelessly to understand the virus, and individuals have stepped up to test the vaccine so that others can be safe when they receive it. Companies have agreed to prioritize the distribution of the vaccine at the expense of the distribution of other products. Without their time and efforts, we would be farther away from getting back to doing the things we all enjoy in a normal setting. Actions of good citizens extend far beyond a global pandemic. I've witnessed good citizens advocating for youth sports and hybrid learning models for the mental health of our youth. Whether it be written letters or a Zoom, advocating for personal beliefs impacts many. The United States moves forward through empathy, compassion, and consideration. Small actions such as holding the door open, volunteering at a local cause, and checking in on someone when they least expect it can change one's views and inspire them to be a better person as well. Impacts, both large and small, of good citizens collectively contribute to the efforts that keep our nation moving forward. While times of struggle can often create barriers, good students find ways to work around them. Their efforts range from citizens raising their profession and bravely showing up to work when others would not, to donating resources, to smiling and waving to someone who looks lonely. As a compassionate and selfless society, good citizens' efforts help create and advance a better United States. Thank you.
Thank you, Clara. And thank you so much to Couple and Clara for your participation in the DAR Good Citizens Essay Contest.
Thank you, Ashley. We again send our congratulations to Couple and Clara. It was just a pleasure to meet you and your families during our Zoom meeting. The DAR Junior Membership Committee was established in 1937 with the intent to include more young women as members and encourage active participation in all phases of DAR service. Juniors are very important members of our society. They are hardworking women, active in their communities. They are students, employees, employers, wives, and mothers. Women who use their time and talents to serve the DAR and make a difference. State Outstanding Junior Contest Chair, Ms. Chloe Meyer, will present this year's Outstanding Junior Member.
The Outstanding Teacher of American History Contest honors full-time teachers of history, social studies, government,
Good evening.
the California
Madam State.
Thank you, Madam State Regent. The Outstanding Junior Member Contest began in 1963 to recognize junior members who have truly promoted the aims and purposes of the National Society, as well as those who participate in meaningful community service. Recognition on the chapter, state, and national level is an honor not to be taken lightly. At this time, we will recognize our 68 California Chapter Outstanding Juniors of 2020. These 68 young women are wonderful examples of what it means to rise and shine for America. Their achievements are far and wide, and they exemplify DAR's motto of God, home, and country. All across our state, these women are working hard to make their communities a better place for all. Congratulations, ladies, on your well-earned accomplishments. You are valued members of DAR, and we appreciate the service you provide to our organization, both professionally and through your volunteer work. All of you are excellent ambassadors of DAR within your community. Please join me in congratulating all of these young women, and many thanks to all the chapters who participated this year by selecting one of their junior members. Now on to the state winner. As a reminder, Chapter Outstanding Juniors are not required to enter the state contest, but we certainly encourage them to do so. Each year, the state contest is judged by 3 people. 2 are not DAR members, representing different parts of our state, while the 3rd judge is an honorary state regent of California. This year, our 2 non-DAR judges were Lindsay Kinder of San Francisco. She is the owner of Food La La, a food and lifestyle brand. Trisha Carvajal of Los Angeles. She is the Director of Sales and Marketing for MMGY Myriad, a global travel company. And our DAR judge is Honorary State Regent Beverly Moncrief. Our California State Outstanding Junior winner of 2021 has excelled in her commitment to DAR.
She has served as chapter committee chair, chapter officer, state committee co-chair, page and delegate at state conference, and page at Continental Congress. She is a trained docent for our California state headquarters. She completed the genealogical research needed and fully prepared the applications for 10 new DAR members. She has used her research talents to assist the registrars of 4 other chapters. She organized a fundraiser for Tomasi DAR School and organized her chapter's day of service where members picked up refuse along a waterway. She has shared her knowledge of genealogy by presenting workshops on lineage research and has represented her chapter at a genealogy conference, answering questions from prospective DAR members. She completed the DAR members and DAR New Horizons leadership courses. She also completed the DAR Registrar, DNA, and GEP 1, 2, and 3 courses. Her non-DAR volunteer work is equally outstanding. She has a true heart for service, and especially the homeless, disabled, and veterans. She serves as chair of the Disability Network of Union Station Homeless Services. She regularly organizes events for Project Room Key. She assists homeless veterans in obtaining their vital records, provides employment advice, resume assistance, and helps them find jobs. It is my pleasure to announce the 2021 California State Outstanding Junior, Colleen Marie Dragovich of Covina Chapter. Colleen, congratulations. This honor is so well deserved, and we are very proud of you. Thank you, Madam State Regent.
Congratulations, Colleen. We're very, very, very excited for you, and I wish you could be here with us this evening live. You will be live. You will be hearing from Chloe, but you will be live at a later time during conference, at which time the state regent will sash you and give you your pin. The 2021 California State Outstanding Teacher of American History will be presented by State Historian Sherry Stein.
The Outstanding Teacher of American History contest honors full-time teachers of history, social studies, government, and civics education in public, private, or parochial schools, grades 5 through 12. Chapters identify and honor teachers within their communities who demonstrate excellence in teaching American history and related subjects. Teachers who make history come to life every day for their students. Teachers who instill in their students to learn from history as tomorrow's history will be written by them. Chapters submit their honoree for judging at the state level. 3 judges, 1 DAR and 2 non-DAR, carefully review each dossier. Independently, the judges rank the teachers and the state winner is identified using the collective results from these judges. Firstly, I will introduce the chapter winners.
Arancha Chapter winner, Mindy Montre. Chapter Regent, Debbie Hill. Historian, Elisa Bryant. El Paso de Robles chapter winner, Shannon Babcock. Regent, Lisa Wood. Historian, Susan Clark. Jedediah Smith chapter winner, Todd Anton. Regent, Janice Klima. And the historian, Judy Odenbright. John Greenleaf Whittier chapter. Winner, Scott Van Diest. Chapter regent, Diana Arnold. Historian, Carol Shaw. Meets Conacon chapter winner, Monica Lukens. Regent, Patty Bagley. Historian, Evelyn Arnold.
Congratulations to the chapter winners and their supporting chapters. I'm very honored to introduce you all to the California State winner, Jeannie Seiza. She is from Palisades Charter High School, and she is sponsored by the Santa Monica chapter, Regent Diane Jenkins, and historian Linda Martinek. Engaging and inspiring students in American history education has never been more critical. Mrs. Seiza is a master teacher who connects her lessons to life's compelling questions. She engages her classes in a manner that allows the students to place themselves in the minds and actions of the people who impacted America's most challenging events. Mrs. Seiza uses a variety of instructional techniques and strategies that allow students to visualize historical events and then connect them to their own lives and experiences. She encourages her students to learn from one another, centering her classrooms around debate, discussion, and inquisitive learning. For over 30 years, Mrs. Seiza has taught her students with passion and excitement. For 10 years, she has been the 11th grade U.S. History faculty team leader. The team works together to strategize methods to aid struggling students. She gives the students freedom to analyze history from differing viewpoints and spurs their imagination on how historic events and people must have felt in the moment. How did the colonists feel about King George III? She likens him to an overbearing parent who takes away freedom and rights that they had already enjoyed. She makes history relatable to her students on a level that challenges them to think deeply about historic events. She organizes yearly brain bowls where the students match wits based on their knowledge of history. She has redesigned curriculum that was adopted school-wide, a curriculum that would better serve the students and their long-term goals. She works with students outside the classroom by coaching students through mock trials. She advises the Junior State of America program and won Advisor of the Year in 2019. She works with the American Legion Auxiliary for funding and scholarship. She also mentors future teachers through Pepperdine University's Exceptional Teacher Education Program. I feel that this statement from a former student of Mrs. Seiza says it all. I first met Mrs. Seiza my freshman year, and as a meek, confused student entering high school, Mrs. Seiza helped me find my voice within and beyond the classroom. Mrs. Seiza, thank you for educating, inspiring, and making a difference to the students of today, and for sharing your passion and knowledge of teaching with the next generation of educators. We congratulate you, and we are honored to honor you as the 2021 California State Society Daughters of the American Revolution's Outstanding Teacher of American History. In addition to the certificate plaque, Mrs. Seiza is receiving a $500 check, a beautiful Outstanding Teacher of American History lapel pin, and several books written by the Pulitzer Prize-winning Dr. Alan Taylor. Please welcome Mrs. Jeannie Seiza.
Good evening, Madam State Regent, honored daughters, and guests. It is with gratitude and humility that I accept this award as the Outstanding California Teacher of American History. This award from the Daughters of the American Revolution is the most tremendous honor I have received in my 30 years in education. I would like to give my profound appreciation to the Santa Monica chapter. They have been so incredibly supportive, encouraging, and welcoming. I am fortunate to be in a profession with so many outstanding, passionate, and creative people who challenge and support their students every day. Therefore, when the DAR notified me of my nomination, it was a surprise. Though I am familiar with this prestigious organization, I was definitely curious to learn more. The most significant thing I discovered is how closely the principles of the DAR and educators are aligned. Like the history teachers I've worked with over the years, the DAR is dedicated to serving others. In addition, we share a passion for bringing historical education to children, making it relevant, and imparting a strong sense of patriotism to the next generation. Finally, equality, justice, and humanity for all are central to our core values. In these times of uncertainty, it is these shared values that will pull us through. As I reflect on the many, many years I have spent as an educator, I think how lucky I have been to do what I love every day. The joy I feel working with young people is hard to put into words. They have taught me at least as much as I have taught them. Although I would have loved to accept this honor in person and had the privilege to meet you all, it in no way diminishes my profound appreciation for this honor and the opportunity to thank you. Madam State Regent, honored daughters and guests, thank you for this honor. And moreover, thank you for all you do to serve our nation and your communities every day.
Thank you, Sherry, and congratulations, Jean. Each of us can remember that teacher in our lives who made history come alive. It is teachers such as yourself who inspire students to look back at our history, to understand it, and to dream of what the future will be and what their roles will be as responsible citizens. Thank you for being that inspiration. Over the last several years, California has been devastated by wildfires, affecting many of our daughters. At this time, I call again on his state historian, Sherry Stein, for our next presentation.
The California State Society Daughters of the American Revolution is proud to present a special award, or should I say re-award, this evening. The DAR History Award Medal is a very prestigious award intended to honor an individual whose study and promotion of American history on the local, regional, or national level has significantly advanced our understanding of our nation's past. Clearly, this fellow daughter has contributed to the greater understanding of American history through her dedication as a historian and through her lectures on subjects including Native American and Californios, the Vallejo family, and the women of early California. As a result of this work, she was awarded the DAR History Award Medal in 2015. Tragically, her home was lost last year in one of California's devastating wildfires. Her family records and research were destroyed along with her DAR medal. We are pleased that we can replace that medal and the certificate plaque to Martha Ann Francisca Vallejo McGettigan. We are also sending her a book that contains the paperwork from her original dossier that was submitted for the medal. Martha, we are heartbroken for all that you lost in the fire. We are sending you these replacements along with our love, support, and lots of hugs.
Madam State Regent, Daughters of the American Revolution. When I accepted the award for the DAR History Award Medal at the 107th Annual Conference on March 12, 2015. I began by quoting my great-great-grandfather, General Mariano Guadalupe Vallejo. The present is a dream of the past, and being that I'm an actor on the stage of life, I must write the history of my people. I then and since have made it my life's work to follow in my ancestors' footprints, and it is my duty to call attention to their lives and the rest of California. General Vallejo went on to say, I am making progress in my writings. At my meals, I eat history. My bed is covered with documents, and I dream of the past. That was my life too. I lived in a paradise for solitude to do research and to tell the stories of my family and of California until August 19th, 2020. The Presidio chapter of the Daughters of the American Revolution kept my heart and my life from becoming part of the ashes of my home and my old life. This replacement too is more than you can know, to have part of my life back. I am so honored to be part of the National Daughters of the American Revolution. Again, to be recognized for this shines a light not only on me, but on our great tapestry of California and the connection to American history. Thank you to the state historian, and especially my heart goes to the Presidio chapter for the replacement of this esteemed medal and the honor I will always cherish. Thank you.
No, it's not a smiling moment. Okay. Thank you, Sherry. Martha, this state regent and all California daughters are profoundly grateful for the volumes of genealogy and historical knowledge that you have shared with us and throughout the state. Over the years, through your family history, the history of California was brought to life. We are so pleased that we could return that gift in this small way. Thank you and God bless. We hope that we'll be able to see you soon in the future. That didn't make sense. As we close this evening, I'd like to share, excuse me, I lost my place. Lost my place. We have one further award. As we come to the close of this evening of celebration, there is one additional person that must be recognized. Without this daughter's passion for service, along with her technological knowledge and skills, this conference would not be happening as we will see it play out over the next 3 days. Kimberly Jo Olson is simply a warrior. And I'm not talking about her military service. Yes, she is a veteran, having served in the U.S. Air Force. Jo is also a strategic project manager with over 20 years of experience working in government, construction, land development, and the information technology fields. Her current real job is working as a strategic project manager, leading global teams to implement large enterprise software systems. And yet, while she works on an international clock, meeting with clients across the globe at all hours of the day and night, Jo makes time for DAR, serving at the chapter, state, and national level. Jo exhibits an unparalleled passion for service, a mission to mentor, and a desire to share those skills and that incredible knowledge base with those, any one or all of us. She's behind the scenes, leading her team to bring websites up to current standards, while researching and securing a Microsoft tenant for nonprofits, which includes Teams, Office 365, and other apps, not only for the state society, but for all of the 116 chapters across our very large state, and all at no cost. A quote from one of our VIS team members: "I am so completely impressed with Jo in every single way and what she has managed to do for the entire CSSDAR, let alone the VIS committee, by securing the use of Microsoft Teams and everything that goes along with that, along with the feats she pulls off on a daily basis to make VIS happen." This region could not agree more. And Jo, it is my honor to present you with the Outstanding VIS Volunteer Award. And I just want to share your certificate. Now, I'm sure that when the power went out, many of you could feel Jo's heart just racing, and yours raced for her. In addition to the Outstanding VIS Award, this officer would like to present Jo with the State Regents Award in appreciation for the countless, and I do mean countless, hours spent making this historic virtual conference a reality. For all that you do, Jo, for all that you share, thank you from the bottom of this officer's heart. Now, as we close the evening, I'd like to share a quote from author, anthropologist Margaret Mead. "Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed people can change the world. Indeed, it is the only thing that ever has." Madam Corresponding Secretary, are there any announcements before we adjourn this evening? Emily?
Madam State Regent, we have an announcement from the California Cameo Club. There is an online auction with 6 baskets. Proceeds from the auction will help fund donations between the Women's Alzheimer's Movement through the State Regents Project, Past and Present Juniors and Pages Club, Junior Membership Committee, and Pages Committee. The auction is at 32auctions.com/California Cameo Club. Questions may be directed to Mary McBride. From the Insignia Volunteer, the codes for free shipping: CA Insignia 21 for the Insignia store and VB/2021/California for the DAR store. The DAR store requires the purchase of a President General's item. From the Past and Present Regents Association, the link will be sent out on Friday, March 5th. We will reach the maximum of 300 ladies. Those who registered through the state conference will get the link, and if there is room for additional, then those who have sent email inquiries will receive a link. From our state registrar, CSSDAR welcomes 2 world-renowned genealogists for presentations tailored to California daughters. Judy Russell, the legal genealogist, and D. Joshua Taylor from Genealogy Roadshow will share information. Sign up now at the CSSDAR web store. And finally, from Junior Shop, don't forget to check out the brand new CSSDAR Junior Shop catalog and order form on the CSSDAR homepage. Madam State Regent.
Thank you, Emily. And I'd like, before we have the benediction, I would like to just thank all of you for your patience as we step off into this virtual world, for your understanding, and for your kind wishes. Please rise for the benediction given by State Chaplain Christine McMahon.
eternal God, you alone are constant in this changing world. As each new day begins, fill us with your never-failing love. Grant us true wisdom of heart and guide us in serving you all the days of our lives. Through Jesus Christ, our Lord. Amen.
This conference is adjourned until 9 a.m. tomorrow morning.